Afternoon. Welcome back to Mental Health Colorado's Legislative Lunch Break webinar series, where we share biweekly updates on what's happening at the Colorado State Capitol and how you can get involved. Today is March 27th, and my name is Ashley Prowlis. I am the host for the program. If you have any questions, Q&A feature is live. Please do submit them, and I'll respond to them as I can. With that, I will pass it on to Vincent and Wendy.
Hi, good afternoon. Happy Friday. I'm Vincent Atchity. I'm the president and CEO.
Good afternoon. I'm Wendy Buxton Andrade, and I am the Vice President of Government Affairs.
All right. Well, welcome. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome back. If you're a return guest, we're happy to have you with us. Just by way of reminder, Mental Health Colorado is a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization. We've been working in the state since 1953. We work to pass laws, change practices, and build a movement to promote healthier minds across the lifespan. We recur to the same focus areas repeatedly to make sure that everybody understands what we're talking about when we talk about the complexity of the behavioral health landscape in the state. All of the bills we talk about fall under one or another, or sometimes more than one of these categories, starting with a strong start for all children, support for families, access to housing, healthcare supports and services. This tends to be where many bills reside. Wellness and aging, ending health-based discrimination, decriminalizing health conditions, and reducing potential harms from drugs and alcohol. Wendy, why don't you share the update about our priority bill, Senate Bill 60?
Good afternoon. And our priority bill, Youth Athletic Coach Mental Health, is moving along. We are in a very good position right now. Our next hearing is in the House Health and Human Services. It will be at 1:30 in the afternoon on April 8th. And right now, what we are asking the public to do is if they are felt compelled to put their story in, please do this in writing and let your legislators know in writing that you support this bill. And we have not had any opposition come out against the bill, and so we're sitting in a really good position. I think everybody's seeing what a benefit this will have for rural and urban communities, and our children need to have as many people watching them as possible, and educating our coaches in a position that they understand what's going on with the youth and can reach out to them, as well as help us make sure that parents know when they see something, especially around concussions. And
Thank you.
this, just so you guys know, Senate Bill 26-060 will become Alyssa's Act when it fully goes through and is signed in memory of Alyssa.
Is it okay to move to the next one, Vincent, or did you have
Yes,
some
please.
additional comments? Okay.
Thank you. Right, so I think we've talked about House Bill 1024 before. This raises the age of voluntary relinquishment of a child after childbirth, extending that time frame to 30 days from the current 72-hour period. This brings Colorado in line with 23 other states that have extended that period, and is much more in keeping with people's postpartum adjustment, and allowing a much more reasonable time frame for making sound decisions for the health and well-being of children. Wendy, what's the update on this one?
Yesterday, this was heard in committee. It passed unanimously. It went on the consent calendar, so that basically is the best place this could end up. So it will be with any other bills that have passed unanimously through committee. It will not be debated on the floor. It will one motion and it goes to the governor's desk for passing. There was a lot of great testimony on how this wraps around services for a birthing parent that needs the extra mental health and time to make a sound decision, but also protects the child. And so this was a great bill, and it's moving right along.
Thank you. Next slide. The first of the bills we're listing this week under our Access to Housing, Healthcare Supports and Services category is House Bill 1002, which is Provider Participation in Health Insurance. This bill is important because one of the things it does is it addresses the issue of the ghost networks. Some of you may be familiar with that terminology, and that is the notion that you are seeking access to care within the network of your insurance payer, and yet discover that none of the names listed there are accepting new patients or taking calls. And so the network of care providers is somewhat inflated beyond reality by these ghost networks. This bill takes some important steps towards reining that in so that we've got a expanded access to real networks of real care providers, among other things. Wendy, you want to add anything to that?
Yesterday, this passed out of committee unanimously again, went on the Senate consent calendar. This will really help with access to care and when you're in a crisis and you're trying to find care for your loved one, not to have that ghost network where you're calling people and asking for care and them telling you, we haven't taken this care for a while. This will put it back on that provider to take themselves off of that network and make the lists more accurate and really help with, especially between people that are in the rural areas and the metro areas that are trying to get through the list to find care for their loved ones. Good bill. It's moving ahead, and it will come out of the Senate floor pretty fast and go to the governor's desk.
Thanks, Wendy.
This is a newly introduced bill, House Bill 1195, Psychotherapy Artificial Intelligence Restrictions. Sorry, not newly introduced, but we're introducing it today. There have been a number of AI bills introduced this session, and Mental Health Colorado has taken a monitor position as we evaluate these bills. We acknowledge the risks posed to mental health of AI that is developing beyond our ability to regulate it or even understand its implications with regard to our and our children's health. 1195 is a strong bill that is focused specifically on the use of artificial intelligence for providing psychotherapy, and it puts important guardrails around that to ensure that when we are seeking care, we're getting it from humans, caring humans, as opposed to from large language models and whatever the robots are doing with regard to interacting with humans one way or another. So this is a good one. Everybody should pay attention to this. Everybody should feel some concern about interacting with a chatbot with regard to one's health and well-being. There is an unfortunately developing evidence base, as I'm sure you've all seen in headlines, about risks posed by young people, especially interacting with chatbots around areas of concern. Wendy, what do you want to say about
This bill was brought to the legislation from the therapy side to make sure that they have guardrails around what AI actually does and how, when they're taking notes, how they can use AI to take notes within their system. But it has to have a person, it has to have a validation there. And this is a good bill to protect, to not have artificial intelligence act as a human. So we're in support of this one.
Yeah, and I mean,
It
I
looks
think
like
that
it's scheduled for House Health and Human Services, but it has not been calendared yet, so we do not know the date of it being heard.
it's such a AI is such a complex and evolving landscape that we don't really expect any bill to solve all our problems or to have foresight to all of the potential problems. But we are really grateful to the bill sponsors for having their eyes on this and being leaders in the nation in getting ahead of problems we already have really good reason to be concerned about. Also introducing to you all this week, House Bill 1325, a natural medicine bill. This bill is specifically focused on ibogaine research and an important step toward expanding access to this very valuable natural medicine. This is very much in line with Mental Health Colorado's years of commitment to expanding Coloradans' access to the therapeutic benefits of natural medicines. So we're happy to be supporting this one as well.
This is the next step in the natural medicine. You saw the first steps, and the Natural Medicine Board put in parameters around people that were being certified in the natural medicine and the mushrooms. Ibogaine is the next step in that. Other countries are currently already using ibogaine and making sure and seeing great progress within the mental health and substance use disorders. And this is Colorado's, and the ibogaine, it will be in a research study to make sure that they have fact-based evidence that's happening here in the state of Colorado to align a lot of the parameters that the Natural Medicine Board is. So 1325 is it's a research bill, and very much we'd like to see how it helps with the mental health and substance use disorder.
I want to mention updates with regard to House Bill 1322. This is civil actions for conversion therapy survivors. Conversion therapy has been prohibited in the state of Colorado. Mental Health Colorado participated in that action years past. Conversion therapy is the effort in a therapeutic session to change somebody's gender identity or sexual orientation. This bill opens a pathway to civil action on the part of conversion therapy survivors who've been traumatized by that misuse of therapeutic sessions to do harmful practice. Wendy?
It passed House Judiciary this week, and is going to the House floor. If it passes on the House floor, this will be debated on the House floor. After it comes off the House floor, however, it comes off the House floor, it will be passed back over to the Senate. So, this is very much being debated. So if you have anything that you want to add to it, please send in to your legislator and tell them of your support of this bill.
Also under access to housing, healthcare supports and services is Senate Bill 95. We've mentioned this one in past weeks. This is measures to support victims, survivors of crimes, making sure that victims' rights are well protected within the criminal justice process, and improving coordination among service providers, courts, and state agencies to make sure that people are properly supported in the wake of a crime. And it's making its way through, right, Wendy?
The next, it's scheduled for April 8th at 1:30 in the House Judiciary Committee. It has already come off the Senate. So as it makes its way through the House, it starts with the Judiciary Committee first, and we'll see where it goes. It definitely is a bill to strengthen victims' rights within the criminal justice and making sure that the criminal justice acknowledges the victims.
Senate Bill 31 is use of prescription product with controlled substance. This is what is known as a trigger bill, which basically means that it brings Colorado law into alignment with federal scheduling of newly approved substances. As soon as something is approved, this law ensures that that medicine becomes accessible to Coloradans within the state and doesn't require additional legal action in the state of Colorado.
This one will go through Senate Health and Human Services on Monday, March 30th. And we'll just basically, if you know anything about the federal, the FDA, once it's approved, this takes out the lag period that we have seen in Colorado for prescription products to be put to the marketplace in Colorado. So this will expedite that.
Thanks, Wendy. And just a quick clarification, it passed the Senate and it'll be heard in the House. I think I got confused by adding Senate at the top there. Sorry, Wendy.
Thank you.
Yes. And I testified on this one this week and it was very good and a lot of support for that one. So it's moving.
Thank you. This is our category of wellness and aging, and we're just going to mention again House Bill 1110, which puts some additional protections in place for older adults against all of the different kinds of financial exploitation and fraud of which they can become victims. This bill is also making its way through. I just wanted to add that, we are acutely conscious as an organization focused on health across the lifespan, that there's every session a great number of bills focused on supporting a strong start for all children, which is another key focus of ours, obviously. And yet it's a bit more of a desert landscape out there when it comes to providing supports for aging adults. We have a crisis of unwellness and instability for aging adults, and hope to see some additional activity and to be engaged in some additional activity at this point in the lifespan in coming years.
And then this bill, it's not, as we see a lot of different scams come out against elderly. This is to protect so you don't hear about people's savings being drained and their retirement. This will alert the banks, the financial institutes to alert somebody and not release the money for a few days. It does not make them liable for it, but they do have to take precautions to make sure that they don't allow an elderly person just to send their money to, these scammers. It's a good bill to protect our elderly and their well-being.
Thank
you. Moving on to our next category, which is reducing potential harm from drugs and alcohol. Senate Bill 6 is the bill we've been supporting that provides greater parity for non-opioid pain management drugs. As we've seen over past years, opioids have been readily disseminated throughout communities with solid support from insurance payers We know from our partners at the Consortium for Prescription Drug Abuse, as well as elsewhere, that non-opioid pain management drugs are as effective in managing pain in many cases as opioids are, and yet not always as readily or consistently prescribed or covered. This bill takes an important step in the right direction to make those less addictive substances more readily available to Colorado consumers.
This is a common sense bill. Basically, you know, we have everybody knows about the opioid settlement and all of that. Yeah, in some of our doctor's office, the opioids are still being pushed and people are still getting addicted in that way. So this actually brings light to the non-opioid pain management and making it easier for doctors and to bring in the non-opioid pain management and making sure that that will be covered. This is a good bill and aligns with the system of care that we've already got going right now. It will be in committee hearing on April 2nd at 1:30, and we've and now I'm double checking myself. Senate Health and Human Services, correct, Ashley?
Yes. Awesome. Thank you, Wendy and Vincent. The next one.
We've listed this one under reduced potential harm for drugs and alcohol because of its addiction implications. Gambling is a harmful addiction, can be a harmful addiction for some, especially those who are particularly vulnerable to the technologies which are designed to maintain people's engagement even against their better wishes and better health interests. It's notable this week as this bill continues to make its way through that there were those important legal decisions finding Meta and YouTube liable and negligent with regard to their engineered attention gathering, which was established to be harmful to the health and well-being of young people. So sports betting is particularly harmful insofar as it poses great financial hazard to people who are unable to moderate their own usage so that it remains healthy. So a lot of protections put in place by this bill, and it's making its way through. Wendy.
One of the things that this bill is, they are working on different amendments. Some of the original language in the bill is kind of under scrutiny, especially with the First Amendment on the media part. So they're working through some of the amendments to make sure that it's a solid bill when it comes off the Senate floor. And we will see where it comes with amendments off the Senate floor. But very much, I think the thing that I really came out of hearing it being debated in the Senate committee was how you can sit there and be cut off when you're winning, but not necessarily when you're losing. So how potentially harmful that can be to people's mental health, because they're always, if they lose, they're trying to get ahead again and they're just digging a bigger hole for themselves. So good bill. We will see where the amendments come off of the floor.
So this bill is under review. Mental Health Colorado has not yet taken a position. It's 197 pages long as introduced, and it was just introduced this week. Senate Bill 149, Pathways for Individuals with Mental Health Disorders, is intended to remedy the state's competency backlog. If you're not familiar with that, in 3 sentences or so, rather than paragraphs and paragraphs, I'll just say that when you are arrested and charged with a crime, you have a constitutional right to due process to determine whether you are guilty or innocent of that crime. And if you are deemed incompetent to proceed with your judicial process based on mental illness or disability, your defense attorney, as well as others in the court, raise competency. They call it raising competency, and that is they question whether you're competent to proceed. And the entire thing stops while your competency is formally evaluated. If you are determined incompetent, the state then makes an effort to restore you to competency. And if once you're restored to competency, then you can proceed with your judicial process. Sometimes you can be deemed non-restorable, in which case your charges have to be dismissed because you can't be convicted of a crime if you were deemed incompetent. As a consequence of this important constitutional protection, Colorado happens to be among other states in having a giant backlog of hundreds of individuals who are presumed innocent because their judicial process has not been able to proceed while their competency is being evaluated or restored. Colorado was sued by the Disability Law Colorado over a decade ago for violation of individuals' constitutional rights, for holding them in criminal jail settings while presumed innocent and not proceeding with a speedy trial, when what we know about these individuals is that they've got a mental health condition. Colorado has been unable to meet the terms of the federal consent decree which resulted from that lawsuit. So Colorado has been paying more than $11 million in fines per year to satisfy the terms of that federal consent decree. This is not a good situation, obviously, for a state that's got a limited budget and for a state that has got to be committed to protecting our constitutional rights as individuals. And so the state is pretty eager to come up with a solution. Senate Bill 149 is a proposed pathway to alleviating that competency backlog. We're reviewing it carefully, as are the plaintiffs at Disability Law Colorado. Our concern is to protect our constitutional rights and our civil liberties and prioritize healthy outcomes. And there are questions raised about the extent to which those sorts of protections are preserved, and that's what we're evaluating. So we will have more to say about this next time.
And I think that some of the people on that last bill, it's actually a larger fiscal note than what was originally projected. So there's going to be lots of amendments to it and lots of discussion. So we'll keep our eyes on it.
Yeah, a note on that. Thank you for reminding me, Wendy. Our understanding now is that there's a $30 million fiscal note attached to the bill. And that is just for initial implementation, which would be renovation of hospitals and the expansion of inpatient psychiatry in order to accommodate moving people out of jail settings more expeditiously. It is important that we have additional inpatient psychiatry. The state is notoriously short in the recommended number of inpatient beds by population size. Generally, to solve the competency backlog, that's a partial solution at the end of, at one end of the continuum. A long-term solution has got to be preventing people from justice involvement by creating greater access to preventive services, crisis mitigation, and care earlier in the continuum, so that the people who need care can get it much more readily before crises occur and as crises are occurring. Building out for the acutely ill post long-term incarceration is necessary, but it's only solving toward the end of the continuum. If we're not solving at the front end, the people in need will continue to crowd the gates because that is the condition of the health of the population. Our understanding as of today is that that $30 million fiscal note is anticipated to extend next year to a ongoing $10 million a year cost, which is a number very resonant with the current $10 to $11 million in fines the state's been paying for its failing to abide by the terms of the federal consent decree. So there's a line item of there's a $10 or $11 million there that could be better spent, and I think that that's what the aim of this bill seems to be.
Session updates. In the next 2 weeks, we will see the House Long Bill, which is the budget, be introduced. So everybody knows how that works, is it goes to the House floor for about a week. Everything slows down on the House, and they take limited committee meetings during that time for the House. And there is lots of debate about the long bill. And then as it comes off of the House, it will then shift over to the Senate. Again, the process is about a week for the long bill to be introduced and to be debated on the Senate floor as it comes, and their committees will slow at that point. And then as it comes off of the Senate floor, both what the House and what the Senate does, of course, there'll be probably amendments passed in each of the chambers. That then it goes back over to the JBC. The JBC reviews all the amendments and adopts a budget per their statute of why we have the Joint Budget Committee. And then it goes to the governor's desk to be signed. One of the things that you'll see is for a couple of weeks, everything kind of slows down, but actually it does not slow down for the legislators. It just revs up because they're looking at the budgets. And we will be following those very closely because we know that some of the cuts will be to mental health and substance use disorder, as well as any of the other things that we are following. So we will follow those off of each of the floors very carefully to make sure that we are still communicating with our legislators as we see some of those issues come up, and as we follow it through the JBC too. We do know some of the cuts that will come down, but nothing is final until it comes out of both of the floors. You have anything to add on that one, Vincent?
I do not. Thank you so much, Wendy.
I know that they have about 160 billion to cut. It's above my pay grade on the cuts that they're going to have to do right now. I can't imagine.
You call it the long bill. How long will it be?
It's pretty lengthy. We think 200 pages for the competency bill is long. Budget's even longer.
All right, thank you both. And just as a reminder, if you haven't yet joined the Brainwave, please do so now by scanning that QR code. You'll get action alerts, policy updates, and advocacy opportunities weekly throughout session and monthly throughout the year. And then if you'd like to see all of the legislative priorities that Mental Health Colorado has on our website, you can scan that QR code to see a full list of bills and ongoing updates on those bills. And if you have any questions, oh, sorry, Vincent, did you have something to say?
No, I was just going to chime in and say that if you want to get a sense of past year's legislation, we've got that in that same spot. There's legislation back through 2016. So it's a good place to it's a good textbook for understanding the world of behavioral health policy in Colorado.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And then also thank you so much to our sponsors, Rocky Mountain Health Plans, Accessotree, and Johnson & Johnson for supporting this webinar. And thank you all for joining us this time. We will see you in 2 weeks.
Thank
Thank
you,
you all.
everyone.
Have a good weekend. Thanks.